Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and we have some new 10.2 information, including PTR patch notes that we'll be going over in this video, along with a couple of other posts that have come out since my previous video. If you want to go watch that, there will be a card thing, and I'll playlist all of this 10.2 stuff, so ideally you can watch from start to finish all of those videos if you're coming in later, and have all or almost all of the information that we know about the patch. So, new zone coming, all this stuff, new chapters of the campaign going up onto the PTR, stuff we expected there. New world boss expected. New raid is coming up. Raid testing begins at a later date. Stay tuned for that. A nice 9 boss encounter, and we can see all of the new boss names here, which none of these are names I recognize from anywhere else, so that's there. Dreams Hope class armor sets. Class armor sets are available for testing, and details can be found in this feedback thread. So we will look at these set bonuses after we look through the other notes in here. I haven't seen them yet, but, we'll react in this video. Characters. New customizations available for Druid Moonkin form, available for testing in a later PTR build, and 4 new hair colors for Blood Elf. Wow. Okay, there was a post about healing throughput and mana generation, which basically said, yeah, we kind of get it that raid survivability cooldowns feel like they've entered the territory, making your raid feel nearly invulnerable, and then that makes the raid slightly too sturdy, and I think the spot healing don't feel like they move the health bar enough, right? So I think this is what a lot of us have been saying about raid and M+ healing over the last while, so I think that this is good that they recognize this, and it'll be interesting to see how they go about trying to address this. Here are the class changes. Death Knight, Unholy. In Guardians of the Dream, we're looking to redistribute Unholy's damage profile. Unholy has some of the highest burst in the game, which means most of their damage profile needs to be tuned around that window. The goal with these changes is to reduce their 3-minute burst while increasing their rotational damage and giving more impact to their 45-second burst, which should allow for an overall more healthy damage profile across a fight. We fully expect Unholy will still excel in their gargoyle windows, but they should now have a little more impact outside of it as well. This also looks... Anytime you see changes like this going to a spec, that also reduces how much they're going to be the best targets for power infusion, for augmentation, for all that kind of stacking, that Unholy is one of the best options for that in the past. So their high end was really, really high as a result. Unholy Assault now increases all damage dealt by 20%, was granting 20% haste. And at the moment, Unholy has access to multiple sources of haste that can make their opener a little unwieldy, which often leads to an abundance of wasted resources. This change doesn't completely rectify that. It should help some. Raise Dead's Ghoul damage increased by 10%. Gargoyle reduced by 30%. Soul Reaper increased by 20%. Army of the Dead damage of ghouls reduced by 25%. Ghouls summoned by Apocalypse now have their own scaling from Death Knight stats, separate from Army of the Dead. This gives us the opportunity to tune Apocalypse independently of Army of the Dead, and vice versa. Apocalypse Ghoul damage increased by 12%. Death Coil damage increased by 12%. Scourge Strike 12. Festering Strike 20. Festering Wound 10. This is a big set of changes here. One notable one is Soul Reaper. That's the execute damage going up as well by them for quite a bit. So, that is definitely useful on a lot of boss fights to have more of your damage in there. In general, I think becoming a little bit less based on army is probably healthy for the spec, although, Unholy was real, that was one of the big strengths of the spec, was if you needed that massive burst, you bring Unholy DKs with power infusions as your best option, and that might now cease to be the case, although we'll see if similar changes have landed on stuff like Demonology. Demon Hunter. Updates for Demon Hunter talents are in progress, but we're not ready for testing just yet. Goals for the updates include improving pathing and connections in the class tree, addressing underused talents, increasing access to key Havoc utility that currently clashes with DPS, updating existing talents, improving Vengeance's sigil-relating talents as a possible build identity, or to be incorporated into other builds more successfully, and adding a couple of new talents that help achieve those goals. Check back soon. Okay, so DH is not in there yet. One thing I've always thought for Havoc was momentum right now is not in a good place, because there's people who liked old momentum, which was really high reward, but kind of a lot of, fiddly, you had to do the whole playstyle pretty well to get access to most of that reward. And there's people who just hate momentum entirely. And right now there's this sort of middle ground where nobody's super happy about it, where momentum is not a big benefit, and you don't have to do anything particularly big, right? Just press Fel Rush on CD, and you get almost all the damage out of the momentum talent that way. So it seems like maybe there's a room for Havoc to split it out so that there's access to a momentum build and then another good non-momentum build, and the momentum build actually has that old momentum playstyle and payoff to it. That's something I was thinking about since they announced that this was a tree getting reworked. Druid, innervate down to 8 seconds from 10. Balance. In Guardians of the Dream, we'd like to diversify balance talent builds into different content and provide more viable options. Mushrooms is too expensive to compete with other talent options, so we combined it and fungal growth into a single point. Mushrooms is now a choice node with revised orbital strike. It's no longer tied to celestial alignment. You can choose the steady damage of wild mushrooms or less frequent big bursts of damage with orbital strike. We also removed the conflict between maintaining Rattle the Stars and maximizing Star-Lord. We like the save resources and spend during Eclipse gameplay of balance, and feel Star-Lord epitomizes it better. All abilities buffed by 2%. Nature's Grace now grants 10% from 15% haste. Goldrin damage increased and moved to where Star-Lord was located. Star-Lord moved where Goldrin was located. Rattle has been redesigned. It no longer stacks when you cast Starforge or Starfall. It's now a passive buff that always reduces the cost of them by 10% and increases their damage by 12%. Wow. Okay. Orbital Strike redesigned. Call down a bombardment over the target area, blasting all enemies and applying Stellar Flare to them for 16 seconds. Generates Astral Power. Still hits enemies in a 40-yard line and has a 90-second cooldown. Now a choice node with Wild Mushroom. That looks sweet. Fungal Growth been removed. Wild Mushrooms now includes that effect. Their damage has been reduced, and Fungal Growth's damage over time has been reduced to 60% of mushroom damage was 70%. But remember, it's one talent now, not two. And Fungal Growth deals damage over a longer time as well. Interesting, okay. I'm not a Balance Druid expert, but that seems like a cool set of changes. Feral Druid. Some minor shakeups to Feral in Guardians of the Dream. Apex Predator's value varies a lot in single target and AoE, so we're evening that out a little. We're trying a new version of Ashmane's Guidance, as we don't love the randomness of the current version with the updated Berserk design. It's hard to optimize its damage and resource generation without using external tracking mods. The new version will have a lot more consistent value and rewards you for maintaining your most important bleeds. Apex Predator's chance to trigger is increased against a low number of targets and decreased against a high number of targets. Its chance to trigger is about the same as before against 4 targets. Love this. I love that they're saying, when they have this, they give us like an anchor number to be based around. I think that's really great, actually, because Apex Predator, this was the free bites you'd get off of your rip ticks. And yeah, I think it's good design to make this. It's still going to be increasing in number of procs as the target count goes up, but the chance to proc, right? Actually, does this mean it's not even going to... Interesting wording here. I assume that the total chance, like the number of procs per minute you're going to get, is still more on more targets. It's just less per target as the target count goes up, but that'll be something interesting to check. It'd be very interesting if it actually had like a lower procs per minute on higher target counts. Cat's Curiosity has been replaced with a new talent, Saber Jaws. When you spend extra energy on Ferocious Bite, the extra damage is increased by, 40 to 80%. Okay. And Ashmane's Guidance has been redesigned. During Incarn and for 30 seconds after it ends, your Rip and Rake each cause affected enemies to take 3% increased damage from your abilities. Okay, so it's a 6% damage increase during Incarn and for 30 seconds after it ends, rather than the random procs of Incarn. Okay. Resto. Whew, there's a lot of changes here. Okay, Sonaris' Guidance Incarnation Tree of Life functionality has been redesigned. You summon a Grove Guardian every 10 seconds. And the cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds when Grove Guardians fade. Interesting. Tree of Life now empowers Wrath, causing it to deal more damage and be instant cast. Sweet. Reforestation grants it for 10 instead of 9. Liveliness is, okay, faster dots and faster hots, but much less faster hots than faster dots. Okay. And that's removing Circle of Life and Death. Okay. Grove Tending healing increased. Grove Guardians, Nourish, Swift Mend, and Wild Growth healings have all been reduced. Luxuriant Soil has been nerfed by 50% here. Makes sense. Regrowth initial healing increased. Healing over time increased. Love that. Regrowth, one of those spot healing buttons that I think the difference, if somebody's dying in raid, and you're like, hey, what's something that we can do to try and save this person? Answer number 1, health potion. Answer number 2, health stone. Answer number 3, well, they should have pressed a defensive earlier. Answer number 4, let's external them. Somebody sack them. Answer number 5, guardian spirit. Answer number 6, rally. Answer number 7, Maybe we can spot heal them or something. Like, it's very, very weak compared to the other options of keeping people alive, especially in raid, but even in M+ as well. So I think buffing effects like regrowth, Riptide, I hope to see further down this list as well, would go a really long way towards making that a little bit less true. Rejuve healing up, Wild Growth healing up. Interesting. Wrath and Starfire damage almost doubled. Abundance caps at 12 stacks for a maximum of 60% crit/cost reduction. Cenarian Ward healing increased. Swift Mend healing increased. Spot healing again. Inner Peace, 30-second CDR down from 60. Spring Blossoms healing reduced. Sunfire now costs less mana. Embrace of the Dream reduced. Flourish is a 6-second and only a 25% increase on the rate of healing over time effects. This is a massive nerf to this side of it. Okay. And Flourish procs are also getting nerfed as well. We're reducing the effectiveness of Flourish and increasing the power of rotational healing over time spells with the goal of moving more power into the baseline kit. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, Flourish was really, really OP. So I think this is probably good, probably healthy. Aberrus set bonus is being nerfed as well here. This is one of those nerfs that's just like, hey, we want to make sure you use the new set bonus. We don't want the old one to still be good. And also, we're buffing the effects that this set bonus interacted with, so we want to make sure that doesn't get too good. Dev Evoker. They're nerfing Mastery again, okay, and adding a health floor for the damage bonus. The goal is to bring some damage out of Dragon Rage due to the talent Tyranny and make Devastation less reliant on hitting high health targets while still retaining the flavor and gameplay of the Mastery. This makes them less bursty in PvP, allows them to be more flexible in raid and dungeon content. To compensate for the reduced damage, we're increasing their overall damage. All damage increased by 5%, Mastery reduced by 25%. This is the second or third time they've done this nerf to Mastery as well. But damage no longer falls off once the target reaches 30% health. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is good. This Mastery has always been one of the Masteries that's made this spec perform less well in like the real world than it looks like it will on paper in some cases. Although there are a lot of cases where like you can swap to a high health target or Dragon Rage makes it okay. But you know, all damage at the start of a boss fight versus the end of a boss fight is never better. It's sometimes equally good, but it's never better. So I think, yeah, this makes sense. Pres Evoker, Spirit Boom healing up, Living Flame healing up, Verdant Embrace healing up, Resonating Sphere nerf, only 3 allies getting echoed, and Cycle of Life now accumulates less healing over less time. So again, more into, actually Spirit Bloom, but also Living Flame, Verdant Embrace, big heal increase to Verdant Embrace, making another button that actually feels more impactful as a spot heal is good. Hunter. Fixed an issue where Entrapment didn't share DRs with other root abilities. BM. Aspect of the Wild and Call of the Wild have been struggling to be compelling choices during Dragonflight. Both of these cooldowns were competing for similar design space to make you and your pets feel stronger in a way that feels different than Bestial Wrath. After evaluating these abilities, we've decided to replace Aspect of the Wild entirely and convert it into passive options on the talent tree. The removal allows us to double down on Call of the Wild being a strong pet summoning cooldown. We're also lowering the amount of talent points in the Thrill of the Hunt and Dire Command nodes from 3 to 2, which should give you some extra flexibility in your talent choices. Yeah, Hunter, still the only class in the game to have 3-point nodes, I believe. One of the oldest talent trees now that we've got. Aspect of the Wild's been removed. Savagery, kill command damage up, and Barbed Shot 2 seconds longer. That's the new replacement for Aspect of the Wild, okay. Master Handler's been redesigned, which is now CDR on Barbed Shot damage ticks for your kill command. Call of the Wild's been slightly redesigned. Cooldown reduced to 2 minutes. Base ability now has the added functionality. Whenever it summons a pet, the cooldown of kill command and Barbed Shot are reduced by 50%. Choice nodes for Call of the Wild update. While Call of the Wild is active, all of your pets are affected by Beast Cleave. Each time Call of the Wild summons a pet, all of your pets stomp. Love it. While Call of the Wild is active, each time you kill command, your kill command target takes 3% more damage from all your summons. This effect stacks. Wow, this seems like a sweet, like a really cool AoE and single target option for this talent. Thrill of the Hunt's now 2 point. Each point gives you 2% crit stacking up to 2 to 4 times, was 3% stacking 1, 2, 3 times. So with 2 points in this, you will get 4%, you'll get 8% crit, whereas previously you'd get 9% crit for 3 points. So you're getting much better per point value on this. Dire Command is now 2 rank talent. Each point, actually it's 2 rank talent and you're getting 50% more per point, so you get the same value for 2 points you used to get for 3. And Snakebite has been removed. Marksmanship. Windrunner's Guidance being unreliable has added too much variance to Hunter's performance on each dungeon or raid attempt. This should keep the Wind Arrow theme strong and useful, while being predictable and reliable with how it interacts with the other abilities and the True Shot cooldown. Redesigned. Each Wind Arrow fired reduces the cooldown of rapid fire by 2.5 seconds. Every 8 increases the duration of your next True Shot by 1 second, up to a maximum of 10 seconds. Okay, so the Hunter in my guild sometimes just be like, yeah, I've been in True Shot for the last 5 minutes, which I guess is no longer going to be the case. That probably is fair. All right. Survival. Wildfire Bomb now correctly states the damage is reduced when damaging more than 8 targets. Not a functionality change, a tooltip clarity change. This has been in effect in Shadowlands. This is a pre-outrage mitigation dev note in here. Wildfire Bomb deals 40% increased damage to your primary target. Sweet. I love that. And they're taking the part of the set bonus that worked out well and keeping it going forward. So fantastic. And they're nerfing the actual set bonus. Again, good way to do this. Anytime you're buffing, anytime there's a set bonus that's great from a tier, just bake it in and then nerf the actual set bonus so that we don't just keep wearing it, because now it's even more synergistic with our kit. Holy Paladin, all healing reduced by 3%. Holy Light increased by 40, Flashlight 30. Daybreak now restores 50% less mana. Reclamation now restores 20% less mana. Glimmer of Light healing reduced by 50% per target, right? 4% from 6% per target. And Glimmer of Light damage increased by 10% just flat. Okay. So some small tweaks for Holy Paladin. Again, moving more into the spot healing, nerfing their mana a little bit, and a little bit of an overall healing nerf, which is going to hit their raid healing. Priest. PI haste reduced to 20% and duration reduced to 15 seconds. All right. We are so close. Just 15 more seconds to go. We are 25% of the way there. This is, it's finally happening. It's finally happening. They're nerfing it. Power Infusion has proved to be too impactful due to how it stacks with cooldowns and specs that excel at dealing damage in a short window. We're reducing its duration and amplitude to balance our burst classes and keep them more in line with steady state damage dealers. See, soon as well, once it stops feeling good to get a Power Infusion, then the whole reason for keeping it goes away as well, because then it's just like bad balance and bad gameplay instead of just like feels bad when you don't have it, but actually feels good when you do have it. So we're actually really close. We're really close to getting to the point where we can just delete this thing. Shadow or Death now deals 8% of the priest's maximum HP in damage when it fails to kill a target, instead of the backlash being based on damage dealt. That seems fair. Tithe Evasion reduces that damage by 50, was 75, and backlash damage is now reduced by DR effects. MD's cooldown is now 2 minutes. We're reducing the frequency that priests have access to Mass Dispel. As the value of the spell is exceeding the value of the other utility at its current power level and cooldown, we're looking to allow for more situations where magic debuffs are applied to multiple players without having a priest trivializing the intended difficulty of the mechanics. Seems good. Improved MD was a PvP talent and reduces it by 60, was 20 seconds. No longer reduces the cast time and has been replaced with mental agility in the priest tree, which reduces the mana cost of those of Purify Disease, and Mass Spell by 50%, and Dispel Magic by 10%. Rhapsody now only highlights Holy Nova at max stacks while in combat. Okay. Disc Priest. The goal of these changes is to simplify discs, damage rotation, as well as the number of stacking modifiers used when ramping up for burst healing. Should make it smoother to play by reducing the number of abilities pressed in sequence, allowing players to focus on managing atonement and triaging their allies instead. Schism has been redesigned to be a passive talent. Now causes Mind Blast to fracture the enemy's mind, increasing your spell damage to the target by 10% for 9 seconds. Shadow Covenant has been redesigned to be a passive talent. Shadow Fiend or Mindbender enters you into a shadowy pact, transforming Halo, Divine Star, and Penance into shadow spells, and increasing the damage and healing of your shadow spells by 25% for 7 seconds with Mindbender, 15 seconds otherwise. Okay. Interesting. Another ability that must be sequenced correctly and is usually stacked with other damage modifiers. By merging this with Shadow Fiend, we can streamline the damage rotation and make Shadow Fiend a more exciting cooldown at the same time. That seems... I don't know enough about Disc Priests to know whether they're going to like this or not, because I know sometimes healers like having the ability to spread out cooldowns rather than having them be auto-stacked, but in general, for DPS, I like it when they make it so the process of popping cooldowns takes fewer globals. Mind Blast, 24 second from 9 second CD. Damage been increased by 30%. Dark Indulgence now no longer grants an additional charge. Instead, Mind Blast has a 100% chance to grant power of the dark side. Inescapable Torment damage up, now triggers some penance in addition, and is now a 1-point talent. Solace has been removed. Solace has a long history, but it was another example of a short cooldown damage button that cramped the rotation, so we're removing it. Harsh Discipline no longer triggers after 4 casts. Instead, Power Word Radiance has a 30 or 60% chance to cause your next penance to be free and fire 3 extra bolts. Sanctuary. Smite prevents the next 80% damage dealt by the enemy. I assume this means like 80% spell power, or smite 80% of the damage Smite did, not 80% of the next damage the enemy deals. We're just going to assume that. Ultimate Penitence. Ascend into the air and unleash a massive barrage of penance bolts, causing holy damage to enemies or healing to allies over 6 seconds. While ascended, gain a shield for 50% of your health, in addition to your unaffected by knockbacks or CC effects. Badass. Heaven's Wrath. Each penance bolt you fire reduces the cooldown of Ultimate Penitence by 2 seconds. Ultimate Penitence emits an explosion of light, healing up to 10 allies around you and applying atonement at 50% of its normal duration. These both seem sweet. I assume these are going to be a choice note against each other. Penance damage increased by 15, healing increased by 30, barrier down to a 20% DR from 25, atonement down to 32% of damage, was 40, was previously 36, was previously 40 again. This coefficient has changed now for the 4th time in like 4 months, but that makes sense. Oh, wow. Atonement healing is now increased by 50% when not in a raid. That is just great. That's a great way to do this. This sort of thing is a way to make these specs work in M+ so much better. I think Disc has been... Honestly, I think this patch note right here could be the start of Disc being great in Mythic Plus from now on. Flash healing increased by 40%. Shield absorption increased by 10%. Divine Aegis now a 1-point talent. And Light's Wrath, Resplendent Light, Wrath Unleashed, and Make Amends have been removed. Okay, so that's Ultimate Penitence is like replacing Light's Wrath, I see. Holy, Serenity up by 30%, Flash Heal 40%, Salve is now 15 seconds of CDR off of Serenity and Sanctify. Symbol, now only 10% mana instead of 15%, so again, they're nerfing some mana regen effects for a lot of healers, and Symbol as well. Symbol now recovers 40 seconds of CD for a major defensive, was 60. That's a big nerf. I mean, this Holy Priest was OP for really good raid teams, largely off of this effect. I think it'll still be good here, but this is a big nerf. Sanctify now heals 5 allies with 6. Divine Star healing decreased by 25%, and Halo decreased by 15%. Okay. So I would say this is probably more bad than good for Holy Priest, but the spec was really good. So, and again, moving some into single target, it shouldn't hurt too much in M+, but especially Sanctify now hitting 5 from 6. Doesn't matter in M+, right? Shadow Crash damage now reduced beyond 5 targets. Surge of Insanity now triggers from every 3 casts instead of every 1 cast of Devouring Plague. Rotation has a lot going on, so we're adjusting the frequency of this effect. Yeah, when I was playing Shadow Priest, I was definitely noticing this as well. There were a lot of spots where I had like 5 buttons I wanted to press and 3 globals to press them in, and I was just like, obviously, like there's a best way to do that, but it did feel bad. Mind Flay damage increased by 10%, Insanity 30%, and Mind Spike Insanity 20%. Okay. Monk, Life Cocoon, 33%, Soothing Mist, 40%, Enveloping Mist, 25%, all buffs. Misty Peaks, chance to trigger has been nerfed in half. Enveloping Breath, now 5 targets from 6. Makes sense. Invigorating Mist healing is increased by 25%, but is reduced beyond 5 targets. Burst of Life, 100%. Vivify, 30%. Clouded Focus is being nerfed to 15% per stack, was 20%. Ancient Teachings range increased to 40 yards from 30. Yeah, that's nice. Ancient Concordance now costs 1 point, and the 2 set is being redesigned from Aberrus. Okay, so a lot of single target healing buffs here to Mistweaver, and some adjustments, compensation nerfs, and some straight up nerfs to the AoE healing. Rogue. In Guardians of the Dream, we're updating all 4 Rogue talent trees, that's the 3 spec trees in the class tree, to bring them up to current standards. A sweeping pass was needed to make significant adjustments to address notable concerns, like moving the first gate from row 3 to row 4 to match all other classes, improving pathing and increasing interconnectedness on every tree, removing 3-point nodes, which I lied, Rogue also had them as well as Hunter, and reducing the percentage of minor DPS talents taken in the class tree to make room for more flavorful and robust utility options. We also wanted to use this opportunity where so many things are changing to rework or redesign some talents that needed the update, and also just to make some new talents to experience and hopefully enjoy. Let us know what you think. Many changes have been made to the class positions and connections. Sap's now baseline. Shiv 20%. Shiv now costs more energy and has a longer cooldown. Featherfoot, longer sprint that gives more movement speed. Superior Mixture, crippling poison, more slow. Graceful Guile, an extra charge on feint. Still Shroud, 50% reduced cooldown on Shroud of Concealment, making it, I think, 4 minutes down from 6 if you take that. Could be useful in M+, in some spots. Vigor is now a 2-point talent that increases max energy by 50 or 100 and energy regen by 8 or 15. Okay. Deadly Precision, now a 1-point talent. Per point value is not changed. Night Stalker has changed, increases damage by more. Reverberation now increases echoing reprimands damage by 100, was 15, or 75, sorry. Deadened Nerves, now a 5% physical DR, was 3%. Echoing Reprimand now charges a combo point from 3, 4, and 5, was 2, 3, and 4. That makes a lot of sense, because rogues are playing in that higher combo point area much more often with the way the talent trees work these days. March for Death has been adjusted. 40-second cooldown, up from 30 for Sin and Sub, and down from 60 for Outlaw. Grants full combo points, was 5. Increases the damage your finishing moves deal to the target by 15%, and lasts 15 seconds, resets cooldown if the target dies during the effect. Okay, I like that. Sin Rogue. Assassination is known for having strong single-target damage, but has 2 areas of concern we hope to address in Guardians of the Dream. First and foremost, their AoE has been notably weak and has left them far behind the pack for M+ in certain raid encounter types. Secondly, its damage performance does not improve at a similar rate compared to most specs when players improve their play and coordination to take on bigger challenges, like when moving from heroic to mythic level raiding. We hope the changes here will raise the floor of Assassination's AoE, especially before reaching and needing capstone talents to do so, and that it will feel like a distinct Assassination-like way to deliver AoE damage and not just a copy-paste of another spec's gameplay. Great. As for the second concern, it's very important to us that we not completely rewrite the book and threaten to undermine what makes Assassination appealing for so many players from both fantasy and gameplay perspectives. Changes aimed at addressing this issue are more subtle. Subtlety Rogue. That's the answer. We intend to create more room for players tackling high-end content to use their resources and encounter knowledge to get improved performance outcomes, while not increasing the number of hoops players at all levels need to jump through to get results similar to the past. Many changes have been made to Assassination talent points and connections. Shadow Step is now a baseline ability. Sudden Demise. Your bleed damage is increased by 10%. Targets below 35% health instantly bleed out and take fatal damage when the remaining bleed damage you would deal to them exceeds 200% of their remaining health. Sweet. Okay. Well, the remaining bleed damage you would deal to them exceeds 200% of their remaining health. All right. So double their health in damage. Okay, so that seems like mostly actually not super relevant for... That seems more like a PvP thing than something that'll matter all that much in M+. They'll pop... Like, maybe mobs will be popping at like 1 or 2% HP. I guess maybe a little bit more than that, though. Caustic Spatter. Using Mutilate on a target affected by your Rupture and Lethal Poison applies Caustic Spatter for 10 seconds. It causes 30% of poison damage dealt to splash onto other nearby enemies, reduced beyond 5 targets. Cool. Limit 1. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Max energy increased by 100. And Venom duration reduced by 1 second. Improved Shiv 30% from 20. Venomous Runes, an extra energy restore. Elaborate Planning, a 1-point talent for 5%. Used to be able to get 2 points for 8% there, so a little bit more value per point. Improved Poison, 1 point. Bloody Mess, 1 point, and both of those per point values not changed, which means you're getting, less total value. But you can get access to what's below them faster. Thrown Precision's been adjusted, no longer increases Fan and Knives damage, now increases Fan and Knives crit chance, and causes Fan and Knives crits to always apply your weapon poisons. I like that. That seems like a good way to make crit scaling good for AoE. Seal Fate has been moved to Assassination from Class Tree. It's now 1 point, and now always triggers from crits on just the 1 point. Internal Bleeding's effect is now also applied by Rupture. Crimson Tempest has been adjusted. No longer has instant damage, now has an initial damage over time tick on application, damage per tick reduced, duration increased, now deals bonus damage when multiple enemies are afflicted, increased by 20% per target up to 100%, deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets was 8. So, deals extra damage up to 5 and then starts falling off. All right, a little roller coaster curve on its damage there. Lightweight Shiv now makes Shiv do 100% more damage. Exsanguinate has been redesigned. Active version, 1 minute cooldown. Garrote, Rupture, and Crimson Tempest consume 10 energy to duplicate 100% of any damage dealt. Last 10 seconds. Okay. Passive version, While above 100 energy, your Garrote, Rupture, and Crimson Tempest consume 8 energy to duplicate 40% of any damage dealt. There are 2 updated versions of Exsanguinate, located as a choice node with one being active and one being passive. Based on testing, feedback, and possible iteration, we will likely keep one and discard the other. Love that. That's a really cool way to design this. I'm not sure which of these will be more fun. The while above 100 energy thing is interesting as well, because I noticed that they put in a new talent that gives you 100 max energy, and there's a class tree talent that gives you 100 more max energy, so maybe there will be a build around just always staying above 100 energy. Flying Daggers increases Fan and Knives damage by 15% in addition. Venom Rush's effect now refunds 6 energy, was 7. Vicious Venoms has been redesigned, way more bonus damage, but increases costs. Poison Bomb affects an area within 8 yards with 6. Zoldyck Recipe is 2 points, per point value is not changed. Dashing Scoundrel now generates an extra energy at the 2nd rank. Scent of Blood now increases agility so they made it a 2-point talent from 3 and gave it 50% more value per point. Arterial Precision now increases bleed damage by 30%, was 20. Dragon Tempered Blades now causes your weapon poison to apply 30% less frequently in addition to its previous effects. Indiscriminate Carnage has been redesigned. Garrote and Rupture apply to 2 additional nearby enemies when used from stealth and for 3 seconds after breaking stealth. Wow, interesting. Passive talent. Okay. So Indiscriminate Carnage used to be like 8 Ruptures, right, on a bunch of targets. This seems pretty cool, though. Seems like a cool way to do it. Outlaw. Outlaw has significant issues with rigidity, lack of pathing options, high tension between early tree DPS and utility nodes, and far above average number of unskippable core skills. Some of these skills have returned to Outlaw baseline, creating room for improved pathing and interconnectedness. We've also reworked or redesigned some existing talents and introduced some new options, with the hope that it will expand the gameplay space and options to available to popular Outlaw builds. Many changes have been made. Grappling Hook, Blade Flurry, Roll the Bones, and Restless Blades are now baseline. Prey on the Weak has been moved from Class Tree to Outlaw and has been renamed Sting Like a Bee. Airborne Irritant, Blind applies to 4 additional nearby enemies while Blade Flurry is active but has 20% reduced duration. Interesting. So you can use Blind as like an AoE stop, so Blade Flurry deals instant damage and then causes all of your abilities to do damage in AoE. So this is really, you have to be really careful with this, because if you just press Blade Flurry, it'll like bring you out of stealth. So if you want to like blind some mobs that you're not wanting to fight, but you want to AoE blind them, you got to be careful to not like Blade Flurry when you're right up next to them. You have to be like a little bit away, or Blade Flurry and then enter stealth and then walk up and blind them. That's going to be kind of fiddly. Between the Eyes has no cooldown and also dispatches the target for 100% of normal damage when used from stealth. Cool. Slice and Dice does not lose duration during Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry does not lose duration during Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush does not lose duration during Stealth. Stealth abilities cannot be used or can be used for an additional 3 seconds after Stealth breaks. Love it. Oh my god, that's so cool. Between the Eyes crit bonus is now a buff on the Rogue, was a debuff on the target. Love that. That was annoying. Thieves' Versatility has been adjusted, moved from Class 3 to Outlaw, was 1 and now 1 point, and 1 point for 4% verse. All right, good deal. Good deal. Good trade. Fatal Flourish now has a 50% chance to trigger, was 60. Deft Maneuvers has been redesigned. More damage on the initial hit of Blade Flurry and generates a combo point per target struck. Nice. Swift Slasher has been adjusted. Causes Slice and Dice to grant additional attack speed equal to 100% of your haste, was based on combo points spent. I wonder if this will make haste a compelling stat. Haste kind of sucks for most energy stats because it generally doesn't give you much that you need. But maybe this will make it somewhat good. Ace Up Your Sleeve grants 5 combo points, was 4. And has a 5% chance per combo point to trigger, was 4. Okay, so more value there. Triple Threat, 1 point talent for 10%. Used to be 5 and 10 for 2 points, so double value there. Improved Main Gauche, now 1 point talent. Per point value is not changed. Weapon Master's gone. Improved Adrenaline Rush no longer gives full combo points when it ends, now gives full energy when it ends. Ghostly Strike's been redesigned. No longer on the GCD. 1.5 minute cooldown. Energy cost increased. Damage increased. Now increases damage by more. Durations increased by more. Interesting. No longer on the GC. That's going to make this feel really good, actually. Long cooldown, though. Dreadblades has been adjusted. Now grants full combo points, was 5. Energy cost reduced. And backlash damage has been increased. Okay. Killing Spree has been adjusted. Moved to Capstone Location. Now a finishing move, increasing the total number of strikes per combo point. 1 strike plus 1 per combo point spent. Damage per strike increased. No longer reduces damage taken during effect. Now causes you to stagger all damage taken during the effect, instead taken over 8 seconds. Haste now affects duration, reducing the time between strikes. Okay, that's good. Giving some more ways to scale haste. You know, the spec needs that. So that can be kind of interesting. Subtlety and Talent Tree have been in a similar position as Outlaw. The gameplay outcome has been mostly good, but many talents are underused. We've changed, redesigned, and added new talents alongside improvements to pathing and interconnectedness that will hopefully add up to feeling like there's more gameplay diversity and flexibility in the tree. And when we noted that gameplay outcomes have been good, there have been some negative trends we hope to address. To start, energy and combo point resource economies have been overflowing, which creates a cascade of issues. Uptime for key cooldowns has also been higher than expected, forcing overall damage tuning to result in a relatively flat damage profile, especially for a spec that's known for having moments of increased intensity and burst. So in addition with the more general improvements and additions for talents, there are some changes that affect its energy and combo point flow that will reduce the floor of their steady downtime rate and increase the relative value of effects that temporarily offer more resources. It will require tuning and iteration to get this into a good state. So any gameplay feedback you'd like to share on these topics is welcome. Let us know. So they're bringing Subtlety back over towards not always having stuff to press every global, it looks like, and instead having a little bit more of a build up and spend, build up and spend, and in your CDs, you get to press a button every global. Shadow Step and Black Powder now baseline. Backstab energy cost increased, Shadow Strike energy cost increased, and damage increased. Shadow Techniques has been adjusted. No longer grants a combo point immediately. Now stores combo points with a stacking buff up to double your max combo points. Abilities that generate combo points can expend any stored combo points to generate extra up to your max combo points. Energy generation reduced to 3 was 4. Sweet, okay. You used to have to... I haven't played sub in a while, but you used to have to track this and it was really annoying. And now it seems like it's going to only generate extra combo. Like you can't accidentally generate extra combo points with this because it'll just not expend the extra buffs. I love this from reading it. This seems like it'll be really friendly to play. Find Weakness has been adjusted. Moved from Class Tree to Subtlety, now 1 point. Now causes attacks to bypass 30% of armor, was 15 or 30. So basically every rogue spec had some good ability taken from the class tree and given to their tree, which does also mean that every rogue spec lost 2 abilities, right? Like that went off of their class tree and went into a different spec tree. But they all got buffed when they got moved over as well, so seems fair. Shadow Blades has been adjusted, now causes them to deal 20% additional to Shadow, was 50%, but now causes abilities that generate combo points to generate full combo points, was 1 additional. That is interesting. That's going to make the single target as well, Shadow Blades, feel really good, actually, because it used to be like, in AoE, you'd get to go builder, spender, but in single target, you'd go builder, builder, spender, builder, builder, spender, and now you'll be able to just go builder, spender in both cases, and store up a bunch of Shadow Techniques for when your Shadow Blades ends as well. Ephemeral Bond, a passive that gives you 12% increased healing received. Shadowcraft, while Symbols of Death is active, your Shadow Technique triggers after 1 fewer attack, stores 1 additional combo points, and finishing moves can also expend stored combo points. Interesting. Finishing moves can also expend stored combo points. So you can send a finisher for like 10 combo points and you got 3 stored up or something? Wow. Gormaw's Bite. Okay, this was the Legion talent ability, right? Causing your next 3 finishing moves to cost no energy, awards 3 combo points. All right. Stunning Secret, Kidney Shot has increased cooldown and energy cost and now creates shadow clones to stun all other nearby enemies. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. AoE stun for rogue, for sub-rogue. Symbol of Death now gives you 6% haste on this talent. Shrouded now causes Shroud of Concealment to persist after leaving its area in addition to its previous effect. Awesome. Eviscerate damage increased. Gloomblade energy cost increased. Planned Execution's a 1 point for 6% crit instead of 2 points for 10. Shadow Dance is now 1 point for what it used to do for 2. Shadowed Finishes is now 1 point for 25%. It used to be 2 points for 40. Shadow Focus reduces energy cost by 10%, was 15%. So again, energy costs are getting higher. Deepening Shadows is now 0.5 seconds, was 0.7. Perforated Veins has been redesigned as a 1 point talent. After striking 5 times with Gloomblade, your next attack that generates combo points deals 50% increased damage. Lingering Shadows is now a 1 point talent. Deeper Dagger is now a 1 point talent. Both of those per point values have not changed. Finality buffs no longer have duration. The Rotten has been adjusted. Bonus damage and crit chance now applies to any attack that generates combo points and no longer generates combo points. Okay, so that applies to Shuriken Storm as well. Shaman. Mana Spring now restores less mana for enhancement, less mana for resto, and less mana for Ellie Shaman. Primordial Wave spell damage increased by 500% for enhancement. Resto Shaman increases to Healing Stream, Healing Surge, Healing Wave. No Riptide. Sad. Primordial Wave nerfed on the replication. Cloudburst nerfed. Ascendance nerfed. Mana Tide Totem nerfed. And Resurgence now restores less mana. Okay, so some spot healing increase here and healing stream as well. And then some raid healing and mana stuff being nerfed. All right. Warlock. Grand Warlock's design now just gives you 30 seconds off of your Dark Glare. Demo. Demo is too reliant on Nether Portal and Tyrant Windows. We're redistributing this power to other parts of Demo's rotation. We still want these to be impactful, powerful cooldowns, just not the only source of meaningful output for Demonology Warlock. This also reduces the reliance on Power Infusion, which also got nerfed, which also reduces the synergy with Augmentation stack as well. So this all makes sense, especially in a world where they made Augmentation. Gul'dan's Ambition's been redesigned, now 10 seconds of Pit Lord at the end of Nether Portal. Grand Warlock's design has been redesigned, 30-second CDR instead of... they used to give you CDR per soul shard or something, right? Ner'zhul's Volition gives you Demon Summoned deal 15 to or 30% increased damage for 2 points. Demonic Knowledge now has a 10% chance, which was 15. Volatile Fiend's Implosion deals 10% increased damage. Bile Scourge Bombers deal 20% increased damage, and your spells now have a chance to summon a Bile Scourge Bomber. Demonic Tyrant has been redesigned. Summon a Demonic Tyrant to increase the duration of your Dreadstalkers, Vile Fiend, Felguard, and up to 10 of your Wild Imps for 15 seconds. Your Demonic Tyrant increases the damage of affected demons by 15% while damaging your target. Okay, so very single target. Okay. Reign of Tyranny has been redesigned. Active Wild Imps grant 1 stack of Demonic Servitude. Active Greater Demons 3 stacks up to 15 stacks. Okay, only 15 total. Demonic Tyrant deals 10% additional for each stack active at the time of his summon. Inner Demons no longer has a chance to summon an additional demon. Demonic Core is no longer baseline. Demon Bolt now grants the passive Demonic Core when learned. Shadow Bolt damage increased. Demon Bolt damage increased. Vile Fiend damage increased. Bloodbound Imps removed. Destro. We're removing Madness of the Azakir and introducing a new talent, Chaosbringer, that increases the output of Chaos Bolt, Shadowburn, and Rain of Fire. Additionally, we're adding damage to Chaos Bolt baseline. We're doing this specifically to decrease how penalizing movement can feel as a Destro lock. So Chaosbringer now gives you 8 to 15% increased damage on Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire 5 or 10, and Shadowburn 5 to 10. Chaos Bolt's also just getting 15% flat. Grand Warlocks is giving you 60 seconds off of your Infernal, and Madness is being removed. Was very punishing to move on a Madness, yeah. Dragonriding, new traits. Oh, here we go. Ground skimming can now occur while affected by Thrill of the Skies. Okay, so if you're skimming and going fast, you can get Giga Vigor recharge. When activating Aerial Halt, experience a brief moment of weightlessness as the effects of gravity are reduced for 4 seconds. Interesting. Yeah, Aerial Halt, not a button I press very, very often, but maybe this will be useful now for precisely landing on that, mining node or whatever on top of a mountain. And Second Wind, active 3 charges, 3-minute recharge, instantly generate 1 vigor. Oh, I love this for, sometimes you're just you're sitting there, you almost have 1 vigor, but you don't want to press it yet because if you press it, you're not going to be able to generate another one before you land, and then you're going to be just down bad for the next minute while you're waiting for it to recharge. So that seems fantastic. New Dragonriding stuff, new appearance and stuff. Rashok's mana restore reduced by 70%. Okay, that thing is getting destroyed. No chance that that'll be better than new trinkets next tier as a result, probably, unless it still is. I guess it has more than just mana, right? It also does healing. Several new raid trinkets can be tested. The Incandescent Essence Helm Enchantment. Several weapons with additional effects by acquiring them from Trinketor. Class sets are available. Incandescent Upgrade Essence. Players will begin a questline to acquire this reusable helm enchantment shortly after entering the raid. Can expect to acquire it in their second month of raiding. Grants players a different effect based on their current role, is not consumed on use. They will be disabled in PvP. Quest progress is capped on a weekly basis and will be accelerated 5 weeks after the season begins to allow players to easily catch up if they miss the start of the season. Beautiful. Love the sound of this system. Nobody say the borrowed power thing. Okay, this sounds like a great way to design this. I love this line already about the acceleration coming 5 weeks in. That's going to be cool. And yeah, something to buff us a month into the raid or the second month into the raid so that, the raid is easier after the start. I love it when there's effects like this that mean the raid gets easier because our players got more powerful instead of them having to just nerf the bosses because we were already as powerful as we could be at the start of the patch. Hero track increased to 6 and myth track increased to 4. Crests are now currency. Fragments have been removed. Crests can be traded up once reaching the lower crest's item level or higher. For example, players become eligible to trade their Whelpling Crest up to Drake Crests When every gear slot had reached item level 411 or higher, trading up to Worm Crest would become available at 424 in every gear slot, and trading up to Aspect Crest would open at 437. Wow. So this is actually a huge incentive to do a lot of farming of normal LFR and heroic for the first couple of weeks to just get a bunch of these crests and then uptrade them all, and then upgrade all of your, hero stuff and myth stuff all the way up using just a full inventory of Aspect Crest. The crest cap is now 90 per week to purchase 6 upgrades, was 10 upgrades. Okay, so they're nerfing the crest cap from 150 to 90, which, I'm not surprised there's a nerf buried in here somewhere. And yeah, okay, all right. This all seems good. I love that it's not going to be a bag space thing anymore. New wild pets to collect in the Emerald Dream. Let's go log in pet battles. And a bunch of PvP changes that we do not read in these. This is not a PvP channel. I'm sorry. Talents UI, we're reworking it. You can remove a point and spend it elsewhere without a large part of your build disappearing. Disconnected talents are simply marked in red and can be reconnected to make the build valid again. Oh, love that. And you can still mass unlearn with shift right click. Love it, love it, love it. Ping system added an option to add a shortcut so you can more easily control which chat windows display pings. I would also love it if they had an option to always ping the ground instead of letting a ping hit a player or an enemy. That's something I already would like. Trading post, you can now click the frozen item slot instead of having to locate it in the list. Added a tooltip to the magnifying glass in the world map. Okay, I know I said we were going to do class sets. I know I said we were going to talk about other stuff. That's going to have to wait for a later video because this took a long time and I've got Titan Forge podcast to go record. So class sets will be, I will try and do that in a couple of hours. So stay tuned to this channel if you're somebody who's awake for the next little while. And you can watch that. Again, there'll be a playlist so you can catch all the 10.2 news. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Bye.